Trust me. You see, people always think silence is peace. They look at the quiet ones and assume they've got nothing to say, nothing burning inside. But that's the funny part. The loudest screams, they don't come out of your mouth. They rot inside your chest, rattling your bones like chains you can't shake off. And one day, when the world least expects it, silence becomes the scariest damn sound in the room. Let me tell you something, kid. The real silence, it's not when you stop talking. It's when you stop explaining. When you get so tired of being misunderstood, so tired of begging people to see your worth that you just disappear inside yourself. That's when they start panicking. That's when they finally notice what you were worth all along, but by then, it's already too late for them, isn't it?
You've been broken, haven't you? Used. Played like a pawn in their little game. They loved the sound of your kindness, but they spat on the silence that followed when you needed them back. That's how it goes. You give, they take. You bleed, they watch. You scream, they laugh. And when you go quiet, they choke. Because silence is the only language they can't twist against you. Think about it.
Every betrayal you've swallowed, every lie they fed you, every fake smile that stabbed you in the back, it taught you something. It wasn't a waste. You were sharpening your silence into a blade. Every tear that hit the floor was weight training for your soul. Now your silence isn't weakness, it's discipline. It's the war drum they can't hear, but they can damn well feel in their chest when you walk in. Oh, you think I'm just ranting, don't you? But no, I'm explaining it logically. See, words are cheap. They lose their value the more you hand them out. You tell someone, I'll always be here. They hear it once, twice, 10 times, and it becomes background noise. But when you shut your mouth, when you vanish from the places you used to show up every day, that silence slices deeper than any insult could. It makes them wonder. It makes them regret. It makes them chase shadows of you. Let me give you an example. Imagine a man pouring his loyalty into everyone around him. Friends, family, lovers. He's there every time they need him, but when he falls, they vanish. He begs, he explains, he defends himself, and they laugh. Then one day, he decides to shut the hell up. Stops defending, stops texting, stops showing up. What happens? Their walls start cracking. They whisper, why is he so quiet? What's he planning? Do we lose him for good? That silence becomes the monster under their bed. And here's the harsh truth, my friend. They never respected your words, but they'll bow to your silence. I know it hurts. I know you're tired, but this is how you rise from it. Not with noise, not with begging, not with rage, with silence, with discipline, with presence so cold it burns. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone anymore. Let your silence prove it for you. That's the real power. That's the real silence. You want me to keep going, huh? Good, because silence ain't something you taste in a sentence or two. It's a whole meal you gotta choke down. Let me lay it out in long breaths, make you feel the weight of every word, like chains dragging on concrete at midnight. The thing about silence is it's a teacher, a brutal one, louder than screaming, sharper than knives. People think talking solves everything. No. Talking's cheap. Everyone's got words, even liars, especially liars. But silence doesn't lie. Silence is raw. It's proof. You know what hurts someone more than yelling at them? Not yelling at all. Just walking past them like they don't exist. That absence is louder than 1,000 insults. You've been loud your whole life, haven't you? Trying to explain yourself, trying to defend yourself, trying to prove you're worthy. And what did you get for it? Mockery, betrayal, smirks, empty promises. The more you spoke, the less they listened. That's when you should have known your voice was never the problem. Their ears were. Let me give you a picture. A man on fire, running through the streets, screaming for help. Everybody watches. Some laugh. Some turn away. Some record it on their little phones. Nobody helps. He screams until his voice is gone. Then he falls. Silent. And suddenly, they all run toward him. Too late. That's how life works. They ignore your fire while you're alive, but they'll gather around your ashes once you're silent. You want another example? Lovers. You give her everything. Time, loyalty, your damn soul. She laughs, rolls her eyes, keeps searching for something shinier. You try to explain your love, you beg her to see it, you defend yourself every time she doubts. And then one day, you stop. You don't argue, you don't chase, you don't text, you go ghost. And guess what? That silence burns a hole in her chest she can't patch. She'll replay every word you ever said, but it's the ones you didn't say that'll haunt her at night. That's the beauty and cruelty of silence. It's final. It doesn't give second chances. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about apologies. It makes people regret in ways words never could. And you need to understand this. Your silence is your last weapon. Don't waste it. People will test you, mock you, push you, until they think you've got nothing left. That's when silence saves you. You're not running. You're not surrendering. You're teaching them. You're making them face their own emptiness without your voice to fill it. And they'll drown in it. They'll suffocate in the very silence they forced on you. The world's twisted, kid. They only value you when you're gone. They only listen when you stop talking. So stop wasting breath. Stop giving explanations to people who built their whole damn life misunderstanding you. Become silence. Become the void. And watch, just watch How the same mouths that mocked you yesterday tremble in fear when you don't reply today.
You think silence is just shutting your mouth, don't you? Oh no. Silence is an art form. It's war. It's a knife you don't even need to swing, because the absence of the swing is what terrifies them most. People can argue with your words, twist them, mock them, but they can't fight what you don't say. They can't kill what they can't touch. You've been explaining yourself for too long. Every damn mistake, every rumor, every time someone doubted you, you jumped up, tried to clear your name, tried to make them understand. And what did that give you? Nothing but more doubt, more laughter, more disrespect. That's the problem with talking. It makes you look desperate. But silence? Silence makes you look untouchable. You stop explaining, and suddenly, the same people who ignored you start whispering. What's he thinking? Why isn't he saying anything? Did we lose him? That's the trick, my friend. You stop answering, you stop defending, and suddenly they're defending themselves. They're building stories in their heads, filling in the blanks you left empty. That silence becomes a mirror. They see their own guilt, their own betrayal, their own damn weakness reflected back at them, and it eats them alive. Let me paint you a picture. A man accused of something he didn't do. He screams his innocence, begs for people to believe him. They don't. They laugh, they call him guilty anyway. But then one day, he goes silent. No more begging, no more defending. Just silence. Suddenly the crowd gets nervous, because silence doesn't give closure. Silence leaves a hole, and people can't stand holes. They'll fill them with fear, regret, and nightmares. That's the power you've got when you shut your mouth. Funny thing is, silence is heavier than any sound. You ever notice that? You're sitting in a room and it's dead quiet. Suddenly every little sound is louder. The clock ticking, your own heartbeat, your own thoughts gnawing at your skull. That's what you become when you go silent. The ticking clock in their conscience, the heartbeat they can't escape. You haunt them without even moving your lips. You see, the world's broken, and people don't value presence until it turns into absence. They don't cherish voices until they become echoes, and they don't respect loyalty until it disappears. So what do? You stop wasting your breath. You let the silence do the speaking. You let absence become your revenge. Don't mistake me, though. Silence isn't running away. Silence is strategy. It's patience. It's letting your enemies suffocate on the air they thought was theirs. It's letting the people who wronged you sit alone with their choices. They expect you to explode, to argue, to fight back, because that means they still control your strings. But when you don't give them the satisfaction of a reaction, that's when you own the room. Silence is what turns you from prey into predator, from fool into phantom, from victim into nightmare. You're still here, huh? That means you understand, you feel it. That itch in your chest, that heaviness in your lungs, it's silence pressing down on you. Not the peaceful kind, not the
meditation garbage they sell in books. No, I'm talking about the silence that follows betrayal. The silence that follows being ignored. The silence that follows pouring every drop of yourself into people who never even looked at you twice. That silence, it kills louder than bullets. See, here's the truth. People fear silence more than they fear chaos. Chaos, they can blame it on something, someone. But silence? Silence points the finger back at them. When you stop speaking, stop arguing, stop begging, they have to sit with themselves. And that's the worst punishment. They face the mirror without your words covering their sins. And mirrors don't lie. Think of all the times you wasted breath explaining your pain, explaining your loyalty, explaining why they should treat you better. And what did it get you? Nothing but more excuses, more disrespect, more betrayal. That's the trap. They want you talking, because as long as you're explaining, you're still chained to them. But silence? Silence is you cutting the chain. It's you saying, I owe you nothing. Not even a word. Let me tell you a story. A warrior fights for his people, bleeds for them. Every day he shouts, I'm here for you! And they cheer. But one day when he's wounded, when he falls, he whispers, help me. And the crowd goes quiet. Nobody moves. He sees the truth. They only loved his noise, not his pain. So he stops talking. He heals alone. He fights alone. Years later, he returns stronger, scarred, silent. And when they see him, their cheers die in their throats. Because silence carries a weight that shouts never could. That's what you need to become. A silence so heavy it crushes egos. A silence so cold it freezes lies. A silence so sharp it cuts through regret. Stop giving them the luxury of your explanations. Stop giving them the theater of your pain. Make them choke on the quiet. Make them fear the questions they'll never get answers to. Let me be harsh with you. You're scared to be silent because you think it makes you invisible. Wrong. It makes you unforgettable. You think talking makes you strong. Wrong again. Talking makes you common. Silence makes you dangerous. Why? Because no one can predict silence. No one can control silence. It's the unknown. And the unknown terrifies people more than any insult ever could. You ever notice how when you don't text back, the other person starts writing novels in their head? Did I do something wrong? Did he find someone else? Is he planning something? That's silence doing its work. That's silence becoming their personal prison guard. And the beauty is, you didn't have to lift a finger. That's the power I'm handing you right now. Use it.
Don't waste another word on people who already showed you what you mean to them. Don't waste another explanation on ears that were never listening. Let your silence be the graveyard of their arrogance. Let your absence be the reminder of what they lost.
You want more? Of course you do. Because once you taste the truth in silence, you crave it. It's not sweet, no. It's bitter, sharp, metallic, like blood in your mouth. But it's real, and real is addictive, isn't it? After a life of noise, betrayal, empty promises, fake laughter, silence becomes the only thing that doesn't lie to you. Look at yourself. Look at the nights you stayed awake, typing, deleting, retyping, trying to find the perfect words to explain yourself. You thought maybe, just maybe, if you said it right this time, they'd understand. But they didn't. They never did. They never wanted to. Because understanding you means facing their own guilt. And most people don't want the truth. They want comfort. Your words were too sharp, so they pretended not to hear them. That's why silence is better. Silence forces them to sit with themselves. And people hate that. You want to know why silence is so powerful? Because it can't be misquoted. It can't be twisted. It can't be mocked. Words, they can take your words, break them apart, use them against you, but silence belongs only to you. It's pure, it's untouched, it's unbreakable. Let me tell you about time. Time and silence are lovers. They work together. At first, your silence makes people angry. They call you cold, heartless, selfish. But give it time. Time makes silence heavy. Weeks pass, months pass, and that silence they mocked at first becomes unbearable. They'll remember the sound of your voice, the way you used to laugh, the way you used to answer right away, and the longer your silence stretches, the more those memories cut. Time sharpens silence like a blade. Imagine it. Someone once thought they owned you. Thought your voice, your presence, your loyalty were guaranteed. Then one day you vanish into silence. At first they shrug. They think you'll be back. But as time ticks, silence grows like a storm cloud over their head. Every unanswered call, every unopened message becomes a dagger of regret. And by the time they realize what they lost, your silence has already buried them. But here's the catch. You can't fake silence. It only works when you mean it. You can't play games, going quiet for a week, then crawling back. That's noise disguised as silence. Real silence comes when you've had enough, when your soul decides no more explanations, no more begging, no more wasting breath. Real silence is when you bury the old you, the desperate one, the talkative one, the one who wanted to be understood. You bury him deep, and in his place rises someone cold, someone patient, someone untouchable. That's who you need to be now. Untouchable, not because you don't feel, but because you've learned to let silence carry your pain for you. Every scar, every betrayal, every broken promise, they live inside your silence. You don't need to scream about them. The weight of your quiet will do it for you, and trust me, they'll hear it. They'll hear it when they close their eyes at night. They'll hear it in the spaces between their laughter. They'll hear it when they see someone who reminds them of you. Silence doesn't go away, it lingers, it haunts. So when you ask me how to move on, how to rise, how to turn the pain into power, my answer is simple. Don't speak. Don't explain. Don't warn. Become the silence they can't escape. Let your quietness become their nightmare. Let your absence be the punishment. Let your silence be the real voice they'll never forget. And you're still listening? Good. That means the silence hasn't scared you away yet. Most people, they run from silence. They can't stand it. They need the noise, the chatter, the endless circus of voices to distract them from themselves. But you're here, breathing it in. That tells me you're ready. Ready to learn what silence really means. You see, silence is not emptiness, it's weight, heavy, crushing. It's all the things you never said, piling up, pressing down until it becomes a language of its own. When you walk into a room with silence, you're not saying nothing, you're saying everything. You're saying, I'm not wasting words on you anymore. You're saying you'll never deserve an answer. You're saying I'm done bleeding for free. And they feel it. Even the dumbest ones feel it. Think of the last time you sat in silence after someone betrayed you. Remember that burn in your chest? That storm in your head? That's the truth screaming without a voice. Silence doesn't hide your pain, it amplifies it. It makes it echo in the walls of their mind. And that echo, it never fades. Let me give you a real world truth. People remember arguments for a week, maybe a month. But silence, they remember that for years. Now forget the details of what you said, but they'll never forget how your silence made them feel. That hole in the conversation, that unanswered call, that missing presence, it gnaws at them. It keeps them up at night, replaying moments, asking questions you'll never answer. And that's your victory. Not shouting, not revenge. Silence. You know what's funny? Silence exposes weakness faster than words. When you argue with someone, they get to hide behind comebacks, excuses, lies. But when you go quiet, they scramble. They expose themselves. They start asking, why aren't you saying anything? Don't you care? That's when you know you've won. Because now they're fighting with themselves, not with you. Don't misunderstand me. Silence is not for cowards. Silence is not for the weak. Silence is for the ones who've seen enough, given enough, lost enough, and decided they won't bleed out loud anymore. Silence is control. Silence is power. Silence is you refusing to play their game, but still winning it. Let me draw you another picture. Imagine a courtroom. A man is accused. Everyone's shouting, lawyers, witnesses, the crowd. The man, he says nothing. He just stares, cold, silent. Who do you think they'll remember when they leave that room? Not the one screaming, him, the silent one. Because silence makes people imagine, and imagination is more terrifying than any word.
That's your role now.
You've been too loud, too soft, too explainable. It's time to be unforgettable. And the only way to be unforgettable is through silence. You let your actions, your scars, your absence do the talking. You let the mystery eat at them until they choke.
So when I tell you to embrace silence, I'm not telling you to disappear. I'm telling you to transform.
You become the ghost in their mind, the shadow in their memory, the silence that never lets them rest. And trust me, they'll regret everything when they realize the voice they once ignored is gone forever.
You're still here.
That tells me something. You're not running from this weight. You're carrying it with me. Good. Because silence isn't something you visit for a moment. It's something you live with. Something you wear like a second skin, and once it becomes part of you, it changes everything.
Let me explain it this way. Silence is the final mask. You put it on and suddenly the world can't read you anymore.
They used to feed off your words, your apologies, your explanations, your "I still care." They'd twist those words, laugh at them, ignore them. But silence? Silence is a mask they can't rip off. You leave them guessing, doubting, choking on questions they'll never get answers to. And that's power. Power isn't being loud. Power is making the whole room lower its voice when you walk in. Power is having people wonder what's going on in your head while you sit still, calm, untouchable. And silence is the only weapon that does that. You've been taught all your life to talk it out, to explain, to forgive, to give second chances. Lies. All of it. The more you talk, the cheaper your words get. And the cheaper your words get, the cheaper you become in their eyes. But when you stop, when you cut off the noise, suddenly your presence triples in value. They'll search for your voice in the empty spaces. They'll replay old conversations in their heads. They'll regret every time they ignored you. Picture this. You loved someone, gave them your best. They doubted you, laughed at you, hurt you. You fought for them with words, with promises, with every piece of your soul. And they walked away anyway. Now imagine you chasing them again, begging, explaining. What happens? They laugh harder. But if you vanish into silence, if you stop defending, stop chasing, stop explaining, that's when it hits them. That's when the silence eats away at their pride. That's when the regret kicks in. You know why silence hurts them? Because silence doesn't give closure. People can survive insults, survive rejection, survive even betrayal if they have closure. But silence, it leaves a door half open, half closed. It leaves questions unanswered. It leaves them staring into the dark, wondering what could have been said. In humans, they can't stand unfinished stories. They'll replay it for the rest of their lives, searching for answers you'll never give. That's how you win. That's how silence becomes eternal. And here's the darker truth. They deserve it. Every last one who betrayed you, mocked you, doubted you, they deserve to be haunted by your silence. They earned that quiet punishment with every scar they carved into you, and you don't have to lift a finger. Your silence does the work while you move forward, building, healing, rising. So listen carefully. Don't waste another word on people who made your voice worthless. Don't waste another drop of your soul trying to explain loyalty to the ungrateful. Don't waste another second proving yourself to ears that were never listening. Instead, let your silence bury them. Let your absence be the monument they visit in their regrets. Let your silence be the real sentence they can never escape. You think I'm finished? Oh no. Silence is a whole book, and we've only torn out the first few pages. Sit with me. Feel it in your chest. Let me bleed these words into you until you stop fearing the quiet and start wearing it like armor. People don't realize silence is alive. It breathes, it crawls, it waits. You drop silence into a relationship, into a room, into a conversation. It doesn't just sit there, it grows. It wraps around people's throats. It tightens with every second. The longer you say nothing, the heavier it gets. And that weight, it's unbearable for those who mistreated you. Because silence is not absence. Silence is presence, concentrated, sharpened, undeniable. You've been loud, haven't you? Loud in your love, loud in your loyalty, loud in your pain. You gave explanations, you gave reassurances. You gave every word in your throat until your voice was hoarse. And what did it get you? Nothing. Silence is the lesson you learned the hard way. The less you give, the more they crave. The less you explain, the more they wonder. The less you show, the more they imagine. And imagination, my friend, is torture. Let me show you. Think about lovers. A man screams, "I love you," every day, 10 times a day. At first it sounds sweet, then it becomes background noise, then it becomes cheap. But a man who says it rarely, carefully, and then one day says nothing, that silence roars. She'll hear it echo every night, asking, why isn't he saying it? Did he stop? Did I lose him? That silence will eat her alive. That's why silence works better than revenge. Revenge is noisy. It's fire, it's chaos, it's blood, but silence? Silence is a blade they stab themselves with every single day. Silence forces them to play the scenes over and over in their head, punishing themselves without your help. You become the ghost they created, the one that never speaks but never leaves. But here's where it gets dark. Silence isn't only for them, it's for you. Because silence is healing too. When you shut your mouth, when you stop explaining yourself, you stop feeding your pain, you take that energy back. You let the world talk while you build in silence. You let the world doubt while you grow in silence. You let the world betray while you rise in silence. And when you finally return, you don't need words. Your scars speak louder than anything. Don't get it twisted, though. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean surrender. It means you've seen enough, you've given enough, you've bled enough. And now, you're done performing. You're not on their stage anymore. You're building your own. And the silence you leave behind, That's the curtain falling on their show.
Let them wonder where you went. Let them ask questions you'll never answer.
Let them choke on the quiet. That's how you take your power back. That's how you teach them the lesson they'll never forget.
You think silence is just a pause?
No. Silence is a storm wearing a mask. It doesn't shout, it doesn't burn, it doesn't break the glass around you. It seeps in quietly. But by the time you notice, the whole damn house is underwater. Silence isn't weakness. It's the opposite. It's restraint. It's you holding a blade behind your back while they stand in front of you thinking you're empty-handed. They think you're powerless because you didn't reply. They think you've lost because you didn't scream. But what they don't realize is that your silence is the one thing they can't fight. You know what silence does best? It exposes people. The ones who really care will feel your silence. They'll notice it, they'll reach out, they'll sit in it with you. They'll wait for you to speak when you're ready. But the fake ones, they'll move on, they'll forget, they'll replace you before the dust even settles. And guess what? That's not your loss. It's your clarity. Silence shows you who's real and who never was. That's why I say silence is the final truth. You can tell someone 1,000 times you're loyal, you're hurting, you're tired, and they'll ignore it. But when you stop talking altogether, when you vanish into silence, their soul feels it like a knife in the ribs. They can't hide from it, they can't deny it. Silence makes liars confess in their own head. Silence makes betrayers taste their own venom. Silence makes the ones who left you realize what they threw away. Let me give you an example. Think of a battlefield. One side is shouting, swords clashing, chaos everywhere. The other side, silent, still, not a sound. Which side terrifies you more? The loud ones you can see, or the silent ones? The ones you can't read, the ones waiting, patient, calculating. That's silence, kid. It's strategy. It's patience weaponized. It's letting them exhaust themselves while you stand still, knowing exactly when to strike. You've been noisy for too long. You begged, you explained, you defended, you shouted your worth at people who didn't deserve to hear it. And what did it bring you? Pain, disrespect, betrayal. That's the cycle of noise. But silence breaks the cycle. You stop giving them answers. You stop feeding their power. You stop playing the clown in their circus, and suddenly they're left staring at the empty stage, choking on the quiet. And here's the twisted beauty. Silence outlives you. Your words, they fade, people forget them. Your silence, that lingers, that stays. Decades later, they'll remember that one day you stopped talking, that one day you walked away without warning, that one day you closed your mouth and let the void speak for you. That silence will haunt them in ways your presence never could. So take this lesson. Don't waste another explanation. Don't waste another apology. Don't waste another word on those who showed you they don't value your voice. Instead, give them the silence they earned. and let that silence become the loudest scream they'll ever hear. You're still walking with me through this silence, huh? That's good, because the further we go, the heavier it gets. Silence isn't some trick you pull for a week. It's not a performance. It's a lifestyle. It's a decision you make every day. I will not waste myself on the unworthy. I will not explain myself to the blind. I will not shout at walls. Think of the times you begged for clarity, begged for respect, begged for someone to finally listen. And what happened? They tuned you out. They mocked the tone of your voice, twisted your words, made you feel small. That's the game. They feed on your noise. Every time you explain, you hand them control. Every time you justify, you kneel. Every time you argue, you show them your energy still belongs to them. And silence. Silence rips that leash out of their hands. Here's something most don't see. Silence is punishment and protection. Punishment for them, protection for you. Punishment because they have to live without the sound of your loyalty, without the comfort of your presence, without the privilege of your words. And protection because you stop bleeding out your truth for people who don't deserve it. Silence keeps your power where it belongs, with you. I'll give you a brutal example. Picture someone who betrayed you. They expect the explosion, yelling, cursing, rage. They expect tears. They expect the show. That's what they're ready for. But when you give them nothing, when you stare blankly, when you walk away, when your silence follows them like a shadow, that's when they break. Because silence is unpredictable. Silence is the one weapon they can't disarm. And don't you dare think silence makes you invisible. Silence makes you unforgettable. Why? Because the human mind can't stand gaps, can't stand missing pieces. They will fill in the blanks you leave behind, and in doing so, they'll torment themselves with every possible answer. That's your power. You don't have to scream your value. You don't have to argue your loyalty. You don't have to beg them to remember you. Silence forces them to do it for you. So here's the lesson, kid. Stop giving them the noise they feed on. Stop giving them the satisfaction of seeing you break. You don't owe them a speech. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them closure. You owe yourself peace. And peace is found in silence. The real silence. The kind that doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't care. The kind that lets them choke on their choices while you rise without a sound. That's the silence that changes everything. That's the silence that turns you from the victim of their story into the villain in their nightmares. That's the silence they'll never escape. Normal. You're still here. Most people would have tapped out by now. Too heavy, too dark, too much truth for them to stomach. But you're still drinking it in. That tells me you're not afraid to face what silence really is. And that's rare. Because silence isn't comfort. It's confrontation. It forces you to sit with your scars, forces you to face yourself, forces you to accept that no one's coming to save you. That's the part people don't get. They think silence is peace. Peace. No. Silence is war. Just one fought without words. Silence is every why you never got answered. Silence is every I'm sorry that never came. Silence is every promise that never got kept. It piles up inside you and you either let it drown you or you learn to weaponize it. And once you stop begging and start walking with silence at your side, you become untouchable. Silence is the funeral of explanations, the graveyard of wasted words. You bury every please listen and every you don't understand 6 feet under. And over that grave you build a throne made of your scars, your discipline, your patience. And when they finally realize what they lost, when they crawl back, when they choke on their own regret, you don't even need to speak. Your silence says it all. Let me be harsh with you now. You wasted too much time trying to be understood, too much energy trying to make them see your worth. That's why you're tired, broken, questioning yourself. But listen, your worth was never in their hands. It was always in your silence. Every second you stop explaining, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Every moment you refuse to argue, you build your strength back. Every time you don't respond, you rise higher. That's the paradox. Silence feels like nothing, but it builds everything. Look at history. The loud ones burn fast. The screamers, the braggers, the ones who can't shut up, they vanish quick. But the ones who mastered silence, they last. They strike when the time is right. They make the world lean in, desperate to hear a word only to get nothing. And nothing drives people crazier than silence. So here's what you need to do. Stop giving them the satisfaction of your noise. Stop trying to make them understand. Stop begging them to see you. Let them sit in the quiet they created. Let them feel the absence of your voice like a noose tightening around their pride. And while they're busy drowning in regret, you rise quietly, patiently, silently, until the day you no longer need to say a word because your silence already said it all. That's the real silence. The silence that heals you while it kills them. The silence that buries your past and builds your future. The silence that turns you from victim to phantom, from forgotten to unforgettable. You're still listening. That's good. Most people, they crave noise. They need the endless chatter of their phones, the fake laughter of their friends, the empty words from lovers who never meant them. But you're sitting here, drinking silence like poison. And that's how I know you're ready for it. Silence is not just shutting up, no. Silence is survival. Silence is strength. Silence is standing in a world that's begging you to scream and you don't. They want your reaction. They want your anger. They want your noise. Because if you shout, if you rage, they can point at you and say, see, he's weak, he's broken. But when you say nothing, that terrifies them. Because silence can't be judged. Silence can't be controlled. Silence is mystery. I'm gonna tell you why silence cuts deeper than words. Words end. A fight ends. An argument ends. But silence lingers. Silence follows them to bed, crawls into their dreams, gnaws at their conscience. They start asking themselves questions. Why didn't he answer? Why isn't he saying anything? Did I lose him? Did I break something I can't fix? And the worst part? They'll never get the answer. Because your silence won't hand it to them. That's the punishment. That's the beauty. Think about it. You've been betrayed, haven't you? Hurt, mocked, left bleeding in the street while they walked away. You wanted to scream. You wanted to beg them to see your worth. But imagine this. Imagine you gave them nothing. Not a scream. Not a word. Not even a look. Just silence. You vanish. You stop explaining. You stop existing in their world. And then the silence begins to eat them alive. That's justice. That's revenge without lifting a finger. But it's not just for them. It's for you. Silence is where you heal. Silence is where you build. You take all that energy you used to waste on explaining yourself and you invest it into becoming dangerous, into becoming disciplined, into becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to shout to be heard. That's what silence does. It turns you from someone begging for respect into someone who demands it without a word. Listen carefully now. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is weight, heavy, sharp. It's everything you could say, everything you could scream, compressed into one moment of nothing. And that nothing crushes them more than any word ever could. You've given them your words. They wasted them. Now give them your silence and watch them choke on it. Because silence is the real scream. The scream they'll never forget. You're still sitting here? Good, because now we're going deeper. Silence isn't a trick anymore. It's a way of living. It's discipline carved into your bones. It's control over every urge that once made you weak. They expect you to speak, to explain, to justify yourself, but you don't. That's when you've truly become dangerous. Let me break it down. Silence is more than absence of sound. It's presence. It's weight. When you go silent, you don't vanish. You become louder in their head than you ever were in the room. That's the paradox. When you argue, your words die the moment they leave your lips. But silence keeps echoing. It multiplies in their chest until it feels like 1,000 screams. And the longer you hold it, the sharper it gets. They won't admit it. Oh no. They'll act like your silence doesn't bother them. They'll laugh, pretend they don't care, act as if they've moved on. But late at night, when no one's watching, when the lights are off and the noise dies down, silence will crawl back into their head. And that's when it stabs the deepest. Think of all the times you wasted words, begging them to respect you, explaining why you did what you did, defending yourself against lies. And did it ever change anything? No. Because your words were free, and people don't value what's free. But silence is expensive. It costs them peace of mind. It costs them comfort. It costs them their pride. And once they taste it, they'll never forget it. I'll give you a story. A man gives his loyalty, his heart, his truth to someone. She laughs, she doubts, she leaves. He wants to scream, to chase, to beg her to see what she lost, but instead, he goes silent. Days pass, weeks, months. At first, she shrugs, then she wonders. Then she regrets. And by the time she realizes the depth of his silence, it's too late. The silence has already buried her in her own guilt. That's the power you hold. But don't mistake me. Silence is not for everyone. Silence is heavy. You need strength to carry it. Weak men break under it. They crawl back, they explain, they beg again. But you must hold it. You must let them drown while you breathe in the quiet. That's how you transform. That's how you turn from prey into predator. So hear me now. Stop wasting words. Stop proving yourself to people who never deserved proof. Stop defending yourself to ears that never listened. Let silence be your response. Let silence be your closure. Let silence be your revenge. Because in the end, silence. Most people, they'd have run back to the noise by now. They'd have turned the music up, filled the air with chatter, tried to drown out the silence. But not you. You're still here. And that tells me you're ready for the truth most can't handle. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. Silence is war. Every time you shut your mouth, every time you don't answer, every time you let them sit with their guilt, you're winning. Because silence doesn't defend itself. It doesn't beg. It doesn't plead. Silence just is. And the weight of that is crushes them more than anything you could ever say. They want your reaction. That's the game. They poke, they betray, they test, because they're addicted to your noise. Your pain was their entertainment. Your explanations were their shield. Your words gave them excuses. But when you stop, when you leave them in the dark with no reply, no closure, no comfort, that's when they finally face themselves. And trust me, they can't stand the reflection. Think of it this way. Silence is a mirror. You hold it up without a word, and it forces them to see what they've done. You don't explain the betrayal. You don't beg them to fix it. You don't argue. You just go quiet. And in that mirror of silence, their own actions haunt them louder than any scream ever could. That's why it hurts so much. That's why they'll never forget it. You want another truth? Silence is the only language people respect when it's too late. They didn't respect your love. They didn't respect your words. They didn't respect your loyalty. But your silence, oh, they'll respect that. They'll feel it in their bones. They'll feel it every time they reach out and hear nothing. They'll feel it every time they remember the way you used to speak and realize you'll never speak that way again. And the best part? Silence is eternal. Words fade, people forget what you said, but silence lingers. 10 years from now, they'll remember that you never replied. 20 years from now, they'll remember the day you went quiet. Silence plants itself in their memory like a weed they can't rip out. That's your legacy. Not the noise, not the explanations, the silence. So understand me now. You don't owe them another word. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them anything. Your silence is enough. Your silence is the punishment, the proof, the revenge, the lesson. And the longer you hold it, the louder it becomes, until one day they'll finally understand what you are worth. But by then, it will be far too late. And that's